Hi friends, it's Taylor. Welcome back to the channel where I share my financial self-care journey. I make videos on my monthly budget reviews, financial planning, and money goals. So if that's something you're interested in, be sure to join our community by subscribing and hitting the bell. Today we are going over my meal planning process in Notion, and I've been refining this process for I think 3 years now. So I'm pretty confident that this works, and I'm excited to share it with you all. So without further ado, let's get started. So this page is divided into 3 areas. The calendar shows me what I'm going to be eating this week. The planning helps me decide what I'm going to be eating this week, and the shopping area shows me what my list needs to look like before I actually buy my groceries. I do have this other section here which has more miscellaneous information and really just houses the master database views. I have this little toggle showing foods that reduce anxiety. I don't open it too much, but I am trying to get better about that so that I can eat things that have a chance of improving my mental health. Now, before we actually go through my process using these other filtered views on the pages, I decided it would be best to just start off with the databases that I actually have so you can see the foundation, and then we will go into the different filtered views so that I can only see what I need depending on the stage of the process that I am in. So the first one we have is my cycle syncing database. I have a relation to the Groceries Database for foods that are going to be best for my menstrual phase, for example. And then I have a text column to add anything that hasn't been working out for me. I have a section for the type of workouts that I should be doing. And then I have a property called Stocked, which looks at all of the groceries related to that particular phase and does a percentage of how many are in stock in my kitchen. The next thing we have is the Groceries Database. I opted to have a table view, as you can see here, and it is grouped by the status, and we are going to go over the properties of this database now. So the first one we have is status, and I have 5 different statuses. So the first one is need, which means that I don't have it in my kitchen and it's something I absolutely need to get. Added is for when I am shopping and I add something to my cart. I want to kind of get it out of the way so I'm not wondering if I added it to my cart already. Next time refers to things that I need, but I've decided that I can hold off for another week or 2 before I get them. Out of stock is simply for things that I don't have in my kitchen at all, but I also don't plan to get them anytime soon. And lastly, I have in stock, which means that it's in my kitchen and I can use it. I also have a property for categories so that I have everything grouped based on what type of thing it is. Next, I have a field for the cost of something, which is especially helpful when I'm shopping because I can see if something has gone up or down depending on the price that I have here. I have a checkbox to mark if this is a food staple, which is something that I want to keep in my kitchen at all times. And I have a roll-up of the meal plan, which I will try to briefly explain now, but I think it'll make sense once we start the planning process. I am going to show this as a property so you all can see what I did. So I have related this groceries database to the recipe database. So if I click the plus icon and decide that I also want to put bacon in my beef stew recipe, for example, now I can see that showing up here. Now I am going to click on this and show as page section because I like to see kind of an embedded list within the page. It's just easier for me to process what kind of recipes it's related to. So how the meal plan percentage works is that it looks at all of the recipes that are connected to this ingredient and calculates how many are checked off and have been added to the meal plan. Bacon has 2 recipes connected, and if I add this to the meal plan, now it's saying 50% or half of the connected recipes have been added to the meal plan. This percentage comes into play in a filtered view that I will show you later. Next, we have the recipes database. I have a lot of filtered views up top, as you can see, but to be honest, I don't use them much. I mainly just stay on the search page, and I either scroll through things and decide if I want to explore them here, or I can search by meal type and explore that way. For the sake of this video, I am going to choose a recipe that has some ingredients so that way you all can see how it works. We'll go with the cream cheese pound cake. So once I open this, we can see all the different properties. I have the link to the original recipe, an option to add it to my meal plan, the meal type, the status, the date that I tried it. Then I have a property to mark how long it's going to take to make, which is super helpful for days that I don't feel like making anything that takes more than 30 minutes. I have tags, which is just a bunch of random information based on the type of food that it is, the cuisine, whether it's a heavy food or something that's cheap, just everything has been thrown into here. I have a checkbox to mark recipes that I want to try with my boyfriend. I have the stocks property again, which looks at the connected ingredients and shows how many are in stock. and then I have a section to add any notes. And if I scroll down, you'll see that I have shown ingredients as a page section again, because I just like to see it separately. This is also really handy as well because I can see at a glance how many of these ingredients I have in stock already. As for the page content itself, I typically don't use a template because most of the recipes that I have are just imported to Notion using the Chrome extension. It fills up the page content anyway, so I didn't see the point of a template. The next one is going to be the meal calendar, which is a very simple database. I have opted to show a calendar view and just show this week. And then I also have a monthly view, which shows the entire month, and I can just keep scrolling forever if I want to. I will show you last month's meal plan, which you can tell like the last week I wasn't really logging as much as I should have, but this is typically what my meal plan looks like. And I am just going to open up a random one so you all can see the two properties that I have. I have the date, and that is so that it can show up on the calendar. And then I have the type, and that's going to be between breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks, which as we are here on camera, I am going to add dessert. You'll notice for some of these, there's this little @ symbol next to it, which means that it has been linked directly to the recipe. So if I click tuna patty sandwiches, you'll see that this link is actually clickable and it will open up the recipe. And you can do that by clearing out your title, just hitting the @ symbol, and then you can type in whatever the recipe is that you want to eat for that day. But yeah, there's not really much more to this database because I like to keep things simple. These last two databases are just templates that I got off the internet and I haven't really been using them, so I don't see the point in going over them. Now, the reason that this week's meal plan is empty is because I plan to do that with you all towards the end of the video. So let's begin the process by scrolling down here to planning. And we're going to click on the first tab, which is the first step, and that is checking my phase. So I open up my app on my phone, see what phase of my cycle I am in, and I look to see if there's any food that I should not be getting and which ones are okay. The next thing that I do is check the kitchen, and this is a filtered view of the groceries database. And I want it to show me only the groceries that are in stock. I have my drinks and seasoning sauces and spreads hidden because I don't really like to think of those when I'm meal planning. I like to focus on the actual ingredients. So you can see that I have 3 columns shown: the category, the name of the grocery, and the recipe. Now, because I am an experienced home cook, I am able to quickly scan this list and get some ideas about what I want to eat. But if for whatever reason I didn't know what I could do, I would just click into this recipe area and it shows me all the recipes that are connected to that particular grocery. Not every single recipe in that database is connected to a grocery item, which is why I sometimes do continue to scroll because maybe it hasn't been connected yet. And if I want to add it, I can just hit the plus mark here and now it shows up here. The next thing I do is choose my meals, and this is connected to the recipes database. I have this as a board view grouped by the type of meal that it is. And then it's filtered to not show anything that is a dropped recipe because obviously if I dropped it, I don't need to see it. I also have a filter to only show me things that have not been added to the meal plan already. So if I click meal plan here, it takes it away. You'll also see that I have it sorted by stocked in a descending number, which means that it shows the recipes that I have the most ingredients for at the top of each column and the ones that I have the least amount at the bottom. So you can see here, if we scroll down to stuffed bell peppers, I only have about 30% of that stocked, whereas I have 55% of what I need to make the corn pudding here. I really like having it sorted this way so that I can easily see what I can make with what I have right now. And of course, if I want to go a little bit out of my comfort zone or out of my kitchen, I can just keep scrolling and maybe click on something that I don't have any ingredients for. So let's say for this example, I decide that I want to make this Instant Pot honey garlic chicken and rice. I'm going to select this to add it to the meal plan, and now it disappears. And that brings us to the next stage, which is to look at my ingredients. So this is a filtered view of the recipes database again, and I have it filtered to only show which recipes I have added to the meal plan. This is a gallery view with each of the ingredients that I need below each recipe. And I have the meal plan checkbox again in case I am looking at all the ingredients that I need and I decide that I don't want to make that this week. So you can see for this honey garlic chicken and rice, if I click into this, these are all the groceries that I would need for it. And if I'm like, you know what, I really don't want to make that this week, I simply click the checkbox and now it is gone. The next part of the process is to go down here to the shopping section. And the first thing that I do is review my food staples. This is filtered where the food staple box is checked and where the status is need. Now, this view is already populated because on a daily basis, I will update my groceries database depending on what I need. it also lets me know an estimated total of how much those things are going to cost. So if my budget for groceries this week is $50, I can see here that almost 40 of that is already going to my food staples. That means that I only have about $10 worth of wiggle room to get other groceries that may not be a necessity. The next step is to add my recipe ingredients, and this is a filtered view of the Groceries Database again. The first thing it does is show me anything that is not already in stock. The next thing I did is filter to where the recipes connected to these groceries do not include a protein bowl. And the reason why I hid this recipe in particular is because you can put anything that you have on hand in a protein bowl. And I knew that if I didn't hide it from this list, I was just going to have a lot of groceries that I need to get. So I just decided to hide everything that was connected to that particular recipe. Lastly, I have a filter to show any ingredient where the meal plan percentage is greater than 0. So I'm going to open up this potatoes grocery item. And as I showed you before, we can see all the recipes that we can make with potatoes, and we also have a percentage for the meal plan. The reason why this filter for the meal plan is important is because we only need to see groceries in this list if it's a part of our meal plan. So I'm going to uncheck these so you all see what I mean. And you can see it's removed it from the list. Once I check this box, this percentage goes above 0. And this is telling Notion, hey, you want to make breakfast tacos, which requires potatoes, so we need to add it to this list. Hopefully that made sense, but if you still have questions about it, be sure to leave a comment below. The last step is to review my shopping list, and this shows everything, so there is no filter. And this is important because there may be some things that I want to add to my grocery list that are not necessarily connected to a recipe. Let's say that I didn't plan to use the ketchup for any recipe, but it was something that I still wanted to get. By reviewing this tab, I can add it to the list anyways so that it shows up where it's supposed to. I also take this time to review the next time section because these are usually leftover groceries from last week that I just opted not to get. Maybe I decide, hey, it's a new week, I want to have pork chops this week, so I would just click here and click need, and now it has moved it up there. And this view also shows a sum total of everything that I have added to my list. So if we're using the example of a $50 budget for groceries this week, but my sum total is $85, I need to make some decisions on what things I don't want to get this week so that I'm in budget. Just a note of caution, this sum down here is just an estimate and it does not consider quantity. I don't have a formula or column for quantity because it's very rare that I buy more than one of something because I'm only feeding myself, and usually just one of whatever I'm getting here is enough for me, so that's why the system works. This is where that added status comes in. So I typically have Instacart opened up in another window, and as I am adding things to my cart in Instacart, I just work from this list top to bottom, and I just continue to add things until I have added everything to my cart and everything is out of the way. So after I have added all of these groceries to my cart in Instacart and I have placed the order, while I'm waiting for the groceries to get here, I just come up here to the calendar and start mapping out when I'm going to cook and eat these things. Starting with Monday, I rarely have any energy Monday morning, so I know I'm gonna have to have a low maintenance breakfast. This morning, I decided to eat frosted mini wheats, and I'm just gonna mark the type as breakfast. As for lunch, I am going to eat the leftover protein bowl that I had yesterday. And a protein bowl is becoming one of my go-to things to eat for lunch or dinner because it allows me to just mix together all of my leftovers into something that tastes really good. For example, I had some leftover shredded chicken, some Spanish rice, and then I had some cans of black beans, corn, and tomatoes and chilies that I wasn't eating. So I decided to throw it all into a rice bowl, and there was my dinner. And if I go back to last week, you can see that protein bowl for dinner. So I'm just gonna be eating the leftovers for that for lunch. So for dinner, I want to make pepper steak. And because that is a recipe, I am actually going to hit the @ symbol, and we're gonna do pepper steak. And because this is linked to this page now, I can just click on this and I'll have instant access to the recipe if I need it. Now, the reason why I really love this setup of having each meal as an individual item is because I can plan for leftovers. So I plan to make enough pepper steak tonight that it will cover me for dinner on Tuesday as well. So I'm just gonna click this little line arrow icon and drag it to Tuesday. And now when I look at this, I can see that I'm gonna have pepper steak for dinner on both Monday and Tuesday. With other setups that I have tried where you have like one entry for the entire day and then you have the properties for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I couldn't really do this the way that I like. So this has been working out for me, and I highly recommend doing this if you are someone who batch cooks every couple of days and you want to see how long a meal is going to last you. Going back to Tuesday, I want to have breakfast tacos, so I'm going to cook that, and we're going to mark that as breakfast. And I want to make enough for Wednesday's breakfast too, so we'll drag that over. And for lunch on Tuesday, I have one leftover chicken breast in the freezer, so I'm just going to make some grilled chicken and probably do some broccoli and mashed potatoes. And that'll be for lunch. And the reason why I know that I can make broccoli and mashed potatoes with it is because when I looked at my in stock, I saw that I had broccoli and I also added potatoes to my list. So that's where being an experienced person, both in the kitchen and with this planning system, works out, because as I'm making these meal plans, I can decide what I want to eat with the things that I'm cooking. So we'll do Wednesday next, and I'm going to make some grilled cheese with tomato soup for lunch. And this is top of mind for me because I use a vegan cheese. I only have a week to use it before it goes bad, so that is a priority for me to go ahead and eat it. And lastly, for dinner, I want to make some spaghetti and meatballs. And when I make a full pot of spaghetti, which is what I usually do, it lasts about 3 days. So I'm just going to drag this to cover me from Wednesday to Friday. Now, Thursday is a day that I don't like cooking because I have to go into the office that day, and I usually get really bad motion sickness, and the medicine that I take for that motion sickness makes me really drowsy, so I end up just crashing when I come home. So I need to have the least amount of work in terms of food on this day possible. Since I'm not going to want to cook at all on Thursday, let's say we make the breakfast tacos on Wednesday so that Thursday morning when I wake up, I'll already have some left over. So I'm just going to drag this over to Wednesday. There we go. And we will say for breakfast on Tuesday that I'll just have like toast and eggs or something simple, and maybe even bacon. There we go. And then for lunch on Thursday, I'm probably just going to have the spaghetti and meatballs. Again, I'm just going to type that out. Another interesting thing you can do with this view is just duplicate things. So if I decided that I wanted to have a protein bowl again for lunch on Thursday, I can just right click this and duplicate it and then drag it over. And it's just that simple. Now I have a meal plan. And then for Friday, I want to do those corned beef potato pancakes. And this is a recipe that I have not tried yet, so pretty excited about it. And then I think I'll end up doing ramen for lunch. And let's spruce it up a bit, actually. We'll do fancy ramen, which is when I add like boiled eggs and vegetables and sometimes leftover chicken or whatever if I have it. I also want to have that peanut butter smoothie. Yeah, we'll have that as a snack on Friday. Now, I don't usually plan meals for Saturday because sometimes I go out and I don't have to cook at all. So I'm going to leave that blank. And I think for now, I'll just plan Sunday's dinner. So I'm going to come down here and just look at this. So I have grilled chicken, I have the smoothie, I have the grilled cheese, the pepper steak, protein bowl, the ramen, the pasta with tomato sauce, which in this case is the spaghetti and meatballs, the pancakes. Oh, the cheeseburgers. I forgot about that. And I did cook some yesterday, so I have some left over. Okay, we're going to move everything over one, I think. So let's do the fancy ramen for dinner on Sunday. I forgot to mention that I have this as a multi-select because sometimes I have the same thing for lunch and dinner on the same day, and this allows me to quickly understand that when I look at my meal plan. So we'll say for Sunday, though, this will just be dinner. I am going to move the protein bowl to Tuesday, the grilled chicken to Friday, and then today for lunch, I'll have the leftover cheeseburgers that I have. Uh-oh. Oh, I think I called the recipe cheeseburgers. Yep. And we'll just mark it as lunch. Okay, there we go. So I have all of these recipes that I wanted to eat this week up here on the meal plan. I have breakfast, lunch, and dinner covered for all of the days of the week. And then I have Sunday's dinner covered, and we'll just kind of play the weekend by ear and see what I end up eating. And that is it for the meal planning process. I typically do this on the weekend so that I can start the week already knowing what I'm going to eat. Of course, if I end up not wanting to eat something on that day, I can just switch things around like this. I really appreciate the ability to just move and adjust things around depending on what I'm feeling like eating that day, instead of having to go into each entry and change dates and all that stuff. So if you're interested in using this planner for yourself, I will be leaving a link below so you can get it on my shop. And of course, if you have any questions about how the template works, or maybe even some requests for things you want me to add, be sure to let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.